You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast with Joe D and Eric B. Ordinary Joe's podcast.
All right, guys, another long-awaited episode of the Ordinary Joe's podcast. Happy New Year's to everyone out there. Happy New Year,
Happy New
Joe.
Year.
Everyone,
Happy New Year, Eric.
Everyone always asks, when do you and Joe ever have time to meet? When does he come here from New York? And when do you go to New York? And I say, well, Daly City's a lot closer than New York, so
Yeah,
it's usually just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
we don't have that many frequent flyer miles.
Happy New Year. It's a nice 2022 NFL season. Today we're going to talk about the NFL, well, our particular team in the NFL season and what we're looking for in the playoffs. Whenever you listen to this, today is week 18 of the NFL regular season, so today's the last game. Joe's team, I guess, kind of have playoff. No, I guess you're in the playoffs no matter what, right?
Yeah, we're in the playoffs.
We're in the playoffs no matter what. It's just a matter of which seed we're going to get. So
yeah,
we'll talk about this more when we get started. Let's go ahead and get this started, Joe. I am Eric B.
And I'm Joe, and we are the Ordinary Joes.
Hey,
There we go. Look at that.
been months and months, and we still got it going.
It's like riding a bike. Never forget.
Whenever Joe does this, someone pointed it out to me. It's like whenever you guys start your intro, Joe starts to smile. He's like, someone said, he's like that kid where he knows he's going to mess up. So he starts cracking up before he messes up.
I can't help it. Ever since the first one, I get tickled every time. It's
So
like,
today I actually watched Joe. He was actually like, he had that giggle already going. I'm like, Joe, no, you're going to make me start laughing. All right, Joe, let's go ahead and talk about our football season, what you think your Giants will do, what you want them to do, and who you want them to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. Like you said, week 18. It's been a long road. It's bittersweet, right?
Bittersweet.
It's a good time of the year because it's right before the playoffs, and if you're lucky like us, your team is in the playoffs.
Yes,
this is an exciting time, but it's also kind of sad because it's almost over. These weekly Sunday bouts of just hours and hours of football, and it's almost gone. But
football.
But I'm happy. I mean, if you guys saw early on in the season, we did an episode about football, and we were talking about kind of our expectations and our hopes for our teams this season. And I talked about how this year was a rebuilding year for the Giants, right? As a Giants fan, and any fan can relate to this. When your team's not doing so well, it's been like 7 years since our team, I think, was in the playoffs. You always kind of complain about what you think, right, that they should do with the team. Like, you're always like,
we're NFL coaches, or we're couch coaches, right? Right. We know better than the team.
Yeah, exactly. We're the Monday morning quarterbacks,
yeah,
and
exactly.
We're over here talking about, what you think they should do, what should be the next move. And then finally this year, I mean, I would say for a long time, it was kind of collectively as Giants fans, we were all like, we need new management. We're tired of the old management. We need a new coach. We're about to waste a pick in Saquon Barkley. He's going to fucking just get hurt, and we're never going to see him play to his potential. And then finally, the owners had enough, and they gave us what we want. We got a new coach, a new GM. This is our rebuilding year. So for me, earlier on in the season, you can go back to the episode. I'm like, I'm happy with whatever happens this year because at least we finally made the changes that we wanted as fans.
Yeah.
But fast forward to week 18, we barely scratched our way into the playoffs. We got a wild card spot. I mean, I'm ecstatic. I personally feel like Coach Dable should be in the running for Coach of the Year. I mean, our team has been shitty for the last 7 years, haven't been to the playoffs. And then look, we get him for 1 year and he turns it around.
Here you are.
But Eric, before you get into the Niners, I want to know, what are your thoughts on my team this season? From we both follow kind of each other's teams.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So what are your thoughts on the Giants so far?
Well, first of all, congratulations to your New York Giants making
Thank you.
What was it, the second seed of the wild card playoffs? There's only 3 wild card teams. You got the Dallas Cowboys at number 1, Giants at number 2, and Seattle barely making number 3. And this last game today, we'll figure out who the last seed is. It's between Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay right now, right?
Right. Yeah. Man,
I follow your team a lot, and ever since Joe and I hooked up as buddies in the hotel, it's like New York Giants was the East Coast arch nemesis for the Giants or for the Niners. I couldn't stand them. I was really upset with the Chargers when they traded to the Eli Manning to the Giants. Like, why are you going to give the Giants a Manning for? What the hell? And this goes as far back as I'm older than Joe, so this goes as far back as when Jim Burt freaking took out Montana in the NFC playoffs, and Montana ended up having back surgery, and that was the Niners playoff run back then. So this goes as far back as then, right? So the rivalry is pretty strong when it comes to the Giants. And fortunately for us, we only talk about this during the playoffs, because regular season it's like, whatever. How many games?
And then we barely play each other.
I think there was two games, right? 2 seasons that we faced each other in the playoffs. And both, I think, did we win one or did you guys win both? I don't remember. I know one we freaking lost.
Since I've been here, I want to say it's 1-1. I think it was the one year when we ended up going to this. Well, obviously, we went to the Super Bowl. We beat the Patriots, and I think it may have been the year you guys played Kansas City. I don't know, but there were at least 2 because we bet on both.
Yeah. So we did the hat bet. If you guys see some of our old profile pictures, but this year, man. And it's going to go back to what we said. If we go back to the beginning of the season or the year when we started this podcast, or earlier in the year, last year when we started this podcast, we did talk about what the Giants need. And I'm surprised that Daniel Jones is doing as well as he is right now. And that's the one main caveat that the Giants has is that quarterback position. But I'll go back to what I said in my podcast. You don't have to have a good quarterback to have a good team. You just have to have a good offensive coordinator to call good plays that makes that quarterback comfortable, because the San Francisco 49ers has a 3rd string quarterback right now who's making Jimmy Garoppolo look like, who the hell is Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Yeah.
But it's the offensive calls. It's the plays. Hey, this quarterback can only do this much. I'm going to give him plays that will help him look good moving down the road. So I don't know who your offensive coordinator is, but I think your new coach, was it Gabriel? Dable. He needs to find an offensive coordinator, because Daniel Jones is not a bad quarterback. Daniel Jones is a decent quarterback. And with all these quarterback carousels that's going around right now with the Giants or with the NFL, he's actually a decent quarterback to me. He can make the plays. He has good legs. He reminds me of Josh Allen, just without that Josh Allen playbook, because Josh Allen, he has a good arm and he has strong legs. And then Daniel Jones has a strong arm and he has good legs. I think if you guys got that offensive coordinator, makes the plays a little easier, and maybe, get yourself a little help on the wide receiver, side.
Definitely agree with that. And for sure, wide receivers, that's one thing we were kind of decimated with this year was, and another reason why I was not expecting us to be in the playoffs is because the injury bug got us early.
Yeah.
But sometimes when it happens early, that's a good thing because it gives you time to bounce back. I mean, we lost our number 1, number 2 wide receivers and our starting tight end. At one point in time, we didn't have Saquon or Daniel, throughout the season at different points. So for them to kind of hold on and bounce back and win certain games that maybe they weren't supposed to, and win some close ones, it says a lot, I think, still about the coaching and what they did with Daniel Jones. Cause without having all of those weapons, or really not many weapons, all we have is Saquon and Daniel. They both can run. Let's just take the big play decision out of Daniel Jones's hands. We'll just do short passes. Let him do it with his legs. Let Saquon do it with his legs. Use Saquon as a passing back. And it works, It works for them. And having our defense kind of come back from injuries at the right time and kind of getting better as the season went on. I think that helps too. As far as earlier you asked, like who I would want to see at least in this first round in the playoffs, I think right now we're seeded to play the Vikings. And that's honestly who I'd rather play right now because of the close game that we had with them like just a couple weeks ago. Came down to a field goal and we lost. But I think our best chances right now, if we're going to make it, it's all about survival, making it to the next stage. And I don't honestly, just hypothetically speaking, if the Giants were to make it to the Super Bowl, I don't think they get there without going through the Niners. Like, I think the Niners we had a call a few weeks ago on Woken Up Woke with Evan and Roe, and they asked me who I thought would be in the Super Bowl, who my picks were for the Super Bowl. And originally I said the Eagles and Kansas City. Yeah. But then I had to stop myself because I'm like, wait, this was when Jalen Hurts got hurt. And I was like, whoa, what am I talking about? No, the Niners. And they were joking. I was like, they were like, did your wife just like kind of sneak in behind you and say, whisper the Niners?
That West Coast water.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fan in me hopes the Giants do it, but realistically, I see the Niners being the team to beat for the NFC.
I mean, if the season ended right now, looking at the playoffs, sorry, choked on my coffee. No, Philadelphia is number 1 seed in the NFC. They would get the first round bye. Depending on the outcome of today's game, the Niners plays the Cardinals, the Philadelphia Eagles plays your Giants. So for us, that has some kind of implications because we want that first round bye. And one, for me as a Niner fan, I don't want to travel to the East Coast. I do not want to travel there at all. Minnesota, Philly, wherever. Tampa Bay is not that bad. But I don't want to travel to the East Coast. So I'm hoping that we did get the number 1 seed. So that way we're staying in the West Coast. Playoffs goes through Santa Clara. If the playoffs ended today, it would be the Niners and Dallas, Giants and Minnesota, and then Tampa Bay and Seattle. That's if we ended right now. Season's over. I'm looking at the standings. But I'm really hoping for that number 1 seed. I'm really hoping for that number 1 seed. I'm hoping we find a way to make it to number 1, so that way we get that quick bye, we get everybody back and healthy, and we go from there. But man, I'm unsure about my team. I'll tell you that right now. Really? The only reason why I'm unsure, I'm not unsure of the team. I'm unsure of the play calling because Kyle Shanahan has proven so many times that he's a good play caller. He's a smart play caller, but he doesn't call the right plays at the right time. We got 2 quarterback hurt because, well, one, he did run that, that run for Trey Lance between the tackles. That's how he broke his ankle. Jimmy G, he's just fragile. That's just how pretty boys are, pretty boys are. There's this TikTok viral thing going around where it shows like Army, Navy, and Air Force. Like if they hit their arm on the wall, they're like, whoa. And then the Army's like, oh, my arm. And then like the Navy and Air Force are like, oh, my, and they say something vulgar. And then someone switched it out to NFL quarterbacks. And then the last quarterback was Jimmy G, which I thought was on point, right? It was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Whenever he gets hurt, he cries to his mom. But if we have to face anyone in the NFC right now, I think I'm comfortable with us facing. Our defense is top notch. We got the number 1 defense. But who did we play last week? Freaking the Washington Commanders.
What's that last week?
Washington Commanders. Yeah. They exploited our secondary. Our secondary sucks. We can't stop a 20-yard pass if our secondary is getting beat down everything. And it's obvious. And I've been saying this all year till we get a good secondary. I think I probably even said this in the last podcast when we talked about the NFL, our teams. If our secondary gets beat, then we're fucked. And looking at a team like Minnesota, Philadelphia, who likes to go downfield, then, there's a probability, even the Giants can throw downfield. There's a probability we can get beat in the playoffs. Now, if we get past the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl, now you're facing teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, or Jacksonville, who loves to throw downfield. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to face any one of those 4 teams you just named.
So that's what I just said. If we make it past the NFC, which right now I'm confident in. I'm not sold.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you'll be like, yeah, I'm sold, man. We're going to go in the Super Bowl, win. I'm not sold.
Yeah.
I got to see who we're going to get past first. And then if we get it to the Super Bowl, then, man.
I mean, I think the Niners-Eagles game, if that was the NFC Championship, I personally think that might be a better game than the Super Bowl, honestly, because I feel like that would be such a good matchup because, I mean, and you may not be, as sure and as confident, as a fan. I know how it is. Sometimes you don't want to jinx yourself either.
Yeah.
But, from the outside looking in, I think you guys have an amazing team, right? You got the defense, you got Bosa, you have, even though, you said your secondary might have some weaknesses, but your front four and your linebackers are ridiculous at stopping the run and putting pressure on any quarterback. And I mean, we've seen it even with the GOAT, Tom Brady. You put enough pressure on any quarterback, you take them out of the game.
Yeah.
And you guys have more than enough weapons, I think, on offense to keep you in a shootout if that's what it came down to.
Yeah.
So me personally, I think that would be an amazing NFC Championship, even though I hope it's still the Giants squeaking their way in. Hey. But I just want to give a quick shout out to my boy Kevin. At work, we give each other a lot of shit. He's a Niner fan. And I mean, we're always just talking trash to each other and giving each other shit.
Have to.
And I told him, I'm like, how's it feel this weekend to be a Giants fan? I'm like, because you're going to need us to beat the Eagles, which I hate to say, I don't think it's going to happen. Because we're not moving up either way. Like a win or a loss doesn't change our positioning. So we're sitting all of our starters today. In fact, we're not even starting our second string quarterback. Tyrod Taylor said they're not taking any chances.
Wow.
They moved up Davis Weber, I think, is going to be our quarterback, our third string.
Well, see,
and
I think win or lose for you guys are in the playoffs no matter what. But
we're in the playoffs and we stay at the 6th seed.
You stay at the 6th seed, but it's determining whether you play the Niners in the first round or the Vikings in the first round.
Right.
And you just said you'd rather play the Vikings. So for my sake and your sake, I hope the Giants can find a way to beat Philly. So that way we can go move up to number one. The Niners can move up to number one. Minnesota, who's Minnesota playing today? Who are they playing today? Let me check their schedule real quick.
Yeah, I forget who Minnesota's playing. Oh, they're playing. No, they're not playing Detroit. That's Green Bay.
They're playing Chicago. So I mean, you can pretty much depending on which Chicago team shows up, I guess, right?
Yeah, or which Kirk Cousins shows up.
Yeah, which Kirk Cousins. I mean, I guess win or lose, you guys are going to be playing either Chicago or the Niners. What if you guys end up playing the Giants? I mean, the Eagles. I don't think you play the Eagles in the first round because Dallas has that top two locked in. So.
Right.
Man, it's gonna be crazy. That's all I gotta say.
Actually, Dallas needs us to win too, because if we beat the Eagles and Dallas wins the NFC East.
Oh, that's right.
That's freaking nuts.
That's another thing I wanted to bring up with you is this season for you guys, your Giants. You always, whenever you look at your division rivals, you always have that one team that just tanks practically the whole season, right? We face our team twice, but for some freaking reason, every freaking NFC team was above 500. NFC East team was above 500. Philadelphia 13-3, Dallas 12-4, you guys 9-6, and the Commanders 7-8. Who the hell?
Yeah,
it's like
it would have. We almost, if the Commanders could have pulled it off, it would have been the first time all teams from the NFC East were in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a possibility.
It was a possibility. Yeah, until they came to Santa Clara. And that all hopes were lost after that. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's kind of unfair. And then something else I want to bring up. You were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I brought this up before, and I'll bring it up again. I am not convinced with Jalen Hurts. There's a reason why he left Alabama and went to Oklahoma is because Nick Saban knew that he wasn't that guy. But the NFL's really pushing this guy and this team to do really well. I don't know if it's because isn't Philadelphia considered the city of brotherly love or something like that?
Yeah.
So, dude, they gave him the most softest
Which is pretty
schedule
ironic.
this year, right? I mean, they played Detroit, they played the Vikings, they played Commanders, they played Jacksonville, they played Arizona, Dallas, Steelers, Houston, Washington, Indianapolis, Green Bay, Tennessee, you guys, Chicago, Dallas, New Orleans. An exception to Dallas, every other team this season sucked.
Yeah.
So Jalen Hurts hasn't really played or faced a defense yet that can give him shit. So he's injured.
Yeah.
He's not playing today. It's Connor Minshew.
Minshew.
Yeah. Mr. They call him Mr. Porno Star because he has that porno look, that mustache and the long hair look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, God, there's a possibility you guys can beat Philadelphia.
Yeah. I mean, any given Sunday, right?
Anything can happen, right?
And that's why I'm so excited about the Giants being in the playoffs, because I know, I mean, it's a long shot, but we have a team where if we did everything right, we have the talent to pull off a win against anyone.
Yeah, you do.
I really do believe that.
You
and
do.
I've seen crazier things have happened, and I've seen plenty of things go nuts in the NFL. But that really, I think it requires them to play the next what would be 3 weeks or 3 games perfectly. It's improbable, but it's not impossible.
I mean, and you just mentioned they're not starting their starters or even their second string. Now you're starting these guys who's been sitting on the sidelines all season, who are hungry and also has something to prove to the head coach, maybe to the other teams watching, like, hey, this is what I can do. Watch me. And, they're creating highlight reels for them. And if they come out there and they start hitting, they start throwing dimes, they start running 30-yard, runs. Hey, these guys are hungry. These guys are trying to prove a point themselves. So, I'd rather face the starting team because I know what I'm looking at than the third and fourth stringers, because these guys are hungry and they're going to try to prove a point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no kind of like there's no evidence on what these guys can do, for one. And I'm interested in the game because everybody knows you don't win a championship, you don't win a Super Bowl, you don't get there without the help of your second and third string guys, right? Because it's football. Yeah. People are going to get hurt. It's inevitable. It's not a if, it's when.
It's when. Yeah.
And so, we need these guys, and we will need these guys at some point to step it up, especially considering we don't have a deep wide receiving squad, and we're still kind of hurt on defense. So this is going to be a big test for those second and third string guys to show what they can do and prove to the coaches, like, hey, listen, we can do this. Yeah. When you need us, we'll step up.
We'll do it,
I'm definitely going to be looking at this game closely.
And I do remember mentioning when we talked about this the first time in our other NFL podcast, you guys are a wide receiver away from being a top-notch team. Wide receiver. If you keep Daniel Jones, you get yourself a good wide receiver, whether it's through the draft or whether it's a veteran that you guys sign on. You guys will be a good team next year. I mean, Saquon Barkley is no joke. He's definitely, one of your top 5 running backs in the NFL right now. Get yourself a good wide receiver. I'm surprised, like, Odell didn't even want to come back to the Giants. Like,
I wasn't. I didn't really. I didn't care either way. If he came to the Giants, I felt like what he has to offer, his point in his career, it really wouldn't help us. We needed someone who could do a little more than what Odell would bring. I'm not saying that he's not still a good player and can't help a team, but he could help a team like the Cowboys much more, who already have those tools, and then can just sprinkle him in there as a decoy or whatever, that third down back. But for us, I think he would have just brought more of a distraction. And so I was kind of okay with him not, coming on. And the Giants, they said they didn't want to make any, they were realistic with how we were playing. We were overachieving throughout the season. So they didn't want to, give up a lot to try to get Odell for, a kind of weak shot at the title. They were still looking towards the future. So I was happy with that. And, we traded Kadarius Toney, which I was surprised because I really like Kadarius Toney. He's doing great on Kansas City, but I get it. He was from the old guard, the old kind of coaches and stuff. They were like, hey, listen, we're starting new. Anybody can go. And we ended up getting some, I think we got a couple first or second round draft picks for him. So, hopefully next year, they'll fill in those holes that we have.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about this year is you're going to see the guys who are really, everyone's different during the playoffs. I mean, you have your regular season guys, and you have the guys who are like, it's playoffs. Let's get into that playoff attitude. You guys can go from being 9-6 right now to representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's wild and crazy to think about. It's not unthinkable. It can happen. You got to go through the teams like Philadelphia, San Francisco, Minnesota, and even Tampa Bay. But there's a possibility that it can happen. And if it does happen, I mean, we've seen Cinderella teams go from worst to first every year in every sport, right?
Look at you. You guys are making a Super Bowl run with freaking Mr. Irrelevant as your quarterback. So it's anything's possible. Anything's
possible. Someone asked me today, and I told them we're going to talk about this podcast. And one of my coworkers like, please bring up your input on what you think the Niners should do with Brock Purdy. And my input is, and I'll tell you straight up, is keep him and trade Trey Lance. And a lot of people's like, what? This guy's played 4 years in college ball, proven himself in the NFL after 5 or 6 games that he's played already. If he's in this scheme that Kyle Shanahan is playing right now, he's perfect. It's in the right scheme. I would just go ahead next season, trade Trey Lance. This is his 3rd year, and the rookies signed 3-year contracts, so that way they can either extend him or trade him. I would trade him just so there's no quarterback controversy. Jimmy G's not going to sign with us next season. He's going to be most likely somewhere. So I would trade trade Trey Lance, get your first-round draft picks back because he's worth at least a first-round draft pick, a late first-round draft pick, and start fresh with Brock Purdy. I'm sold on him. I like him. I like him a lot. He's that quarterback that the 49ers need. He's that quarterback that can just sit there, make plays, do what he needs to do. So I'm sold on him. Trey Lance, he got hurt the first game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's a bold statement, but I get it because, even the little bit of time that you saw Trey Lance, he didn't really show much, and he had the same weapons that Purdy had. Yeah. And Purdy had a lot more pressure on him. Yeah. And he stepped up and he's doing what he has to do. And I mean, I tell you what, you guys, even right now, but definitely if you make it to the Super Bowl, if you win the Super Bowl with Purdy, I mean, that's going to be a tough decision for them to make. That's going to be,
and it's another question that you ask yourself, right? It's okay. So if we're going to the playoffs, no matter what, Jimmy G is expected to come back somewhere in the second round of the playoffs. Of course, you don't start him. You keep with what the hot hand is. You wait till Brock Purdy messes up, then you bring in Jimmy G. Now, if Brock Purdy gets you past the NFC Championship, gets you to the Super Bowl, and let's say he barely loses in the Super Bowl. Let's say we lose by a field goal to Kansas City. You brought him all the way up to a field goal and still lost. But now if it's flipped and you beat Kansas City, I'm just saying Kansas City because they're going to be the hottest team in the AFC. You beat Kansas City, which no Niner quarterback has done yet in a regular season. Well, now with the Patrick Mahomes era, no Niner quarterback has beat Patrick Mahomes yet in the regular season or in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
So if he can do that, then I would just take away that whole controversy. Because we're fortunate enough to have this whole season, last season, where Jimmy sucks. Bring in Trey Lance. Put in Trey Lance. Jimmy sucks. Put in Trey Lance. Now, if we have to go through this again next year, I don't want to have to go through that shit again. And it's like, oh, Brock sucks. Put in Trey Lance. Oh, Trey sucks. Put in Brock Purdy. I don't want to go through that. That's the reason why Philadelphia traded Nick Foles right after they won the Super Bowl. Everyone's like, dude, your MVP just won the Super Bowl. Why are you trading him? Because the ownership didn't want that controversy between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. So he just said, forget it. We're getting rid of him. We're going to do what we have to do with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz sucks. So you guys.
Yeah. And I think that back and forth that the Niners had with Jimmy and Trey ultimately hurt Trey, because he never got into like a swing. He never got into that rhythm that you need with your quarterback and his receivers and running backs and all that. And then again, you can argue bad play calling is part of the reason why he got hurt, you know?
Yeah.
It sucks. I feel bad for the guy, because you see the flashes of talent that he has, you know. It kind of reminds me of Kaepernick, same deal, where it's like you can see he's athletic. You get these kind of like flashes of what it is they can do, but it's like I don't know if it's like the system, like you said, the play calling or what it is, but they just can't seem to get into a groove.
Yeah.
And this kid Purdy comes off the bench, and it's like he's been there the whole time, hasn't skipped a beat. Yeah. You know, so I definitely think you have a good point with them, maybe just sticking with him and dumping Trey while they got a chance and they can get good, you know, good stuff for him.
I mean, it goes back to being hungry. This guy Purdy was drafted last in the NFL, and he even told the reporters, I didn't think I was going to see any playing time this season at all. Right. He knew he was going to get garbage time. He knew. And then the one time, did you see the game where they actually threw him in like in the middle of the season, where him and one of the running backs, they like messed up, and it's this meme going around like, this is your number one quarterback right now. And it's him going to the left, and then the running back was going to the right, and they were like, what the hell? Where are you?
Yeah.
So he has something to prove. And he's proving himself right now. He was drafted last. No NFL team even thought about him where John Lynch had him on the radar. And for me, playing 4 years is big. Trey Lance only had a year. He only played 1 year of college, like a year and a half because of COVID, where Brock Purdy played 4 years, and he was top-notch quarterback for Iowa. So he has the experience. He just needs to get, you know, his ears are wet now. He's played a couple games. He's beat Tom Brady. You know, he's beat Miami. So he's that guy for me. Moving forward, if the Niners make it as far as what we all hope them to do, controversy should be just cut short. Hey, we're trading Trey Lance. I'm sorry, I bought a Trey Lance sweater, which I don't know why I did. And it's funny because there's this picture that I posted, or I'm going to post. The last time I bought a number 13 49er jersey, it was a quarterback by the name of Tim Rattay.
Wow.
I don't know. It was like, who? Tim Rattay was the heir apparent to Jeff Garcia. That's how far we're going, right?
Wow.
And he was supposed to be the guy. And that jersey's hanging up in my closet. And everyone's like, don't put it on because that's a bad luck number.
Listen, that's just a testament to how great of a fan you are.
Oh, man.
You support your team no matter who's behind, you know, the center. And I mean, I think that's great. And I think you need that in fans. Like, you know, growing up in New York, it's hard for any athlete to play in New York because there's just the expectations are so high and you only have but so many chances to succeed before, you know, the fans turn on you. And I was one of them. I mean, we're probably harder on our team than even the press can be sometimes.
Yeah, of course we have to be.
But yeah, right. But then there are times where, especially in a situation like a quarterback, where I feel like these are situations where you got to let these players develop. I mean, Eli, as great of a career as he had with us, there were some moments there where we were like, we weren't sure if he was the guy. You know, especially because he always had that kind of oh geez, ho hum attitude, and you never saw that like fire in his belly that you want for every so often from your quarterback. You know, you don't want a hothead back there, but you want somebody who has some passion. And then, you know, he did towards the end of his career, and he gave us 2 Super Bowls. But you know, you just, I don't know. It's tough when you have these situations with quarterbacks, man, and you don't know which way you're gonna go, which way the teams. It's just that's the head of your team, that's the play caller, that's the brain. You know, you want to make sure if you're certain about any position on your team, it's quarterback.
You know, one thing that I've learned from coaching that I took with me to the NFL, and I'm starting to notice this, as a fan of the NFL and as a fan of football. After coaching, I'm starting to notice we as coaches needs to see that individual player and know what we think they're good at. You have kids coming up to me, coach, I'm going to play linebacker. All right, I'll give you a shot. But as soon as I see this kid who wants to play linebacker, has the perfect linebacker size, right? He's fast, he's big. But as soon as I see him not want to take a hit or not want to hit anyone, pulling him off the field, and I'll tell him, hey, buddy, sorry, I don't think linebacker's meant for you. But I want to play linebacker. It's like, dude, you moved away from a guy who was a lot lighter than you. And those are things coaches need to realize. Like, okay, just because this guy, there's one kid that I have that he has raw talent. He's really good, and I'm really trying to push him to play D-end just because I think he's good enough to play D-end, but he sucks at it. Yeah. But towards the end of the season, that's all he wanted to play. And I was like, dude, work on this offseason, get your passion up, watch film, watch Bosa, watch Lawrence Taylor, watch whoever you have to watch to get you in that mindset. So I'm hoping when the season starts, he's good. But you're right. It's all about the play caller. The quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator needs to know what type of quarterback he has. Kyle Shanahan, that's where I praise him. He made Jimmy G go from, hey, Jimmy G's going to be our God savior to, oh shit, Jimmy G sucks, to where Kyle Shanahan makes a whole list of, I'm just going to make easy plays for him, little dump pass, and I'll let everybody else do the work. And that's what he's been doing. Yeah. And
it's funny. You talk about your player that wanted to play that, position. And it's like, it makes me think of when I was in high school and we went away to football camp, and this is my first time playing, organized football. Yeah. We finally got all our stuff, and we're going live, and I'll never forget, I played offense and defensive line, and I was on offense, and I remember I was going out to make this block, and I had to put a seal down on the linebacker, who was my friend Chris Jones. Shout out to Chris. And I'll never forget. It's the first time I ever just collided with someone. It was just like a freight train. Both of us, we were both shocked because he didn't see me coming. I had the angle, and I didn't realize he was coming so hard. Pause. And I tell you, after that hit, I really had to take an assessment on whether or not I still wanted to play football, because I was like, holy shit, that hurt. I'm talking about snot bubbles, all that. And, I pushed through. Was like, yeah, fuck it. This is what I'm here for. But I don't think football is given enough credit for how much of a mental sport it is.
It's a very mental sport. Yeah.
Confidence in yourself and what you're doing, and just the amount of knowledge that you have to have, especially at quarterback. Yeah. You have to know so many plays. You have to make so many decisions. You have to know defense and read defense and what they're doing, and watch a lot of film and all this stuff. And people don't realize how something like an injury or a loss or anything can take a player out of his game mentally. Yeah. And physically they can be fine, but mentally they're not there. And that's it. They'll lose it. A lot of times people, I see people who are kind of fair weather fans in a lot of sports. And I use the Warriors just to hop off of football for a sec. And Warriors are amazing, right? And they had that one year where I forget how many ridiculous wins they had, right? And beating the record. And then the next year, I remember.
And they lost that year too.
Right. And then I remember the next year, them playing, and obviously they didn't have that same record. And I remember their first loss, and I'm at work, and one of my coworkers, who's, like I said, a fair weather friend's like, man, what happened to the Warriors? Why'd they lose? You think something's wrong? And I'm like, no, it's just they lost. It happens. I'm like, do you realize how hard it is to win as many games as they did? Yeah. And again, I just think, and the same with football, people don't realize that it just doesn't take much to take a player out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's like, a lot of people, I'll come up with Mark Sanchez, right? He was the best quarterback in USC. He comes to the NFL and he sucks. And
butt fumbles.
But then someone told me, and I actually watched a film on YouTube on him, and USC was called, even till now, their play calls are 21 red solo. right? 21 red. So like these are play calls that you just call in the huddle and everyone knows that play. Then when you go to the NFL, he was with the Jets the first year. It's like Omaha 23, 16, 14 red. Now your play calling goes from an easy play call to like, now you got to know a whole fucking paragraph.
Right.
And yeah, USC is a good school, but it's not the smartest school in the world, right? So that's why they're, so when you have this quarterback who was good coming out, number 1 draft pick by the Jets, now he has to memorize all these other play calls. There was a play where he called, it was like a slant, like the two end wide receivers was supposed to slant over each other. And the play call was like 21 red, go slant. But instead of him saying go slant, he said 21 red, mirror slant. So I guess they were supposed to mirror each other and go the opposite direction. But in his head, he's thinking go slant. So he's waiting for these receivers to go through the middle and none of them do. And he's like, what the fuck? So yeah, it is hard. It's a lot of mental, and I tell our head coaches now when we coach, dude, these are high school kids. Let's stop giving him these, let's stop giving him these plays that they have to think,
Right.
They don't have to think, like all they got to do is just do. That's it.
Yeah.
You see that guy with the ball? Hit him.
Yeah.
Hit him.
Exactly.
Like we have a guy, he came in, he's our special team coach. Good guy, good person. But he had the special teams doing these weird, like, everyone does this, come together, and then, you on the right end up on the left, you on the left end up on the right, and then you guys end up hitting the guy. Sounds good on paper. But when you got a bunch of high school kids who is called special teams, once they hit each other, once they see each other in the middle, they're hitting each other. They're running into each other. So it's like, make it plain and simple.
No, it's totally true. Our coach in high school, he always wanted to run these kind of intricate offensive plays.
Yeah.
He had us doing plays they were doing in college. We're pulling guards and all. And I mean, I got to give it to our team. We were really good and we picked up on it, but it could have I feel like we could have even ran those same plays, but it could have been simplified a lot more.
Yeah.
You look at Madden, for instance, the video game. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing what you can do with the game now, and you can be as intricate as a NFL coach, but it's always had the option of where you can keep it, simple. KSS, keep it simple.
Yeah.
You got running plays, you got passing plays, you got simple formations. Like, go back to the basics.
Yeah.
And give these kids a chance to succeed, because you're setting them up for failure when you're just putting too much information in their heads on top of all this pressure, and then it's like, go out there and succeed, and I'm going to scream at you for the next 30 minutes. Come on.
And that's why these schools outside of California, or maybe outside of San Francisco, that's why their offense is really good, because they're running these intricate long plays. But just because the quarterback knows the plays doesn't mean the wide receiver is going to know the play. Because the quarterback is like, okay, I can run this. Okay, but you got to have a good wide receiver to run that. And it goes back to Kyle Shanahan, to where I read Emmanuel Sanders after we lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. The reason why he didn't want to re-sign with the 49ers is because he had a hard time understanding Kyle Shanahan's route running plays. Wow. And that's coming from a receiver, a veteran wide receiver who's played with a bunch of different teams, said he had a hard time understanding Kyle Shanahan's plays. It's like an easy out route becomes an out route, ghost, go. And I'm thinking in my head, out route, ghost, and then go. It's like, dude, I would be confused with that.
Right.
And then now you have a quarterback who has to see, okay, is he going to be open on the out route? Is he going to be open on the ghost? Or is he going to be open on the go? Dude, that's difficult, but that's the day and age of the NFL that we're in right now. You got these like freaking Mike McDaniels for the Miami Dolphins.
He's hilarious.
It's like I see him and I'm like, this fucker never played football.
No, this is like Mark Anthony.
This is the guy that I'm going to go to at a bar and I'm going to bully the fuck out of him till he gets me a job with the Dolphins, and he's going to get me a job there because he's afraid I'm going to take his lunch money. That's the kind of guy he is, right?
Yeah, he's a football nerd. He's not really a nerd.
But see, that's the day and age we're in right now. I mean, it's like back in the days when you and I started watching football, every coach in the NFL had something to do with an NFL team. Something. You either played on the team, you were a bench warmer on the team, you were something on that team. Mike McDaniels played Madden his whole life. Figured out the analytics, figured out the best ways to call, play calling. And all of a sudden, he's a freaking genius for the San Francisco 49ers. And then they're like, hey, Miami's calling. They want me to be their head coach. I'm like, really?
That's crazy, right? Like, no, let me ask you, as being a coach, and we're talking about football being such a mental game. Like, how hard do you think it was for all these teams to play this weekend after what happened Monday night?
Yeah,
I can't imagine, especially like the Bengals and the Bills teams, that witnessed that. How do you get that out of your head and go and play even not even a full week after? And how do you coach, and how do you tell guys it's okay to go out there?
I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad Hamlin is doing well.
Yes,
I'm glad he's doing well. He's fine. I was hoping that we weren't going to talk about anything sad about him, but he's tweeting, he's FaceTiming, so thank God he's going that direction. Yeah. We were in a similar situation with him, but not as tragic as him. Right? We had our best quarterback in the city. We were the only passing team in the league. He hurts his leg during one game. We ended up winning that game, which was fine. He comes back. He takes a break 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, he comes back. He's in full swing. And then he comes back and he hurts his leg again. And this time he's crying. We have to carry him off the field. So the guys on the field were like, oh, shit, our quarterback is down. What do we do? We were fortunately already winning. But to get these guys, to get their mentality back into the game, I was a different story, because I can see them. Their heads were down. They're already thinking about, what are we going to do next week? Oh, my God, we're going to lose next week. It's like, dude, worry about now. Worry about now. Worry about this. And then to try to get them back into focusing on football, it was one of those things where I had to go into parent mode, not coach mode.
Yeah.
I had to go into parent mode, and I had to say, hey guys, each and every one of you guys go to James, go let him know, hey, we're going to win this one for you, get better, get better. We'll do this for you. And each and every one of them did that, which was cool. Nice. But you couldn't be the coach. You couldn't be a coach anymore. You couldn't go out there and say, go out there and hit somebody, go there, and hurt somebody after your starting quarterback just got hurt. And, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't like they were trying to. At least we thought it wasn't till we watched the video later on. It happens. It's a sport of football. If I was in that situation with the Bills and the Bengals, man, I wouldn't know what to do. I'm glad they postponed the game, because, man, I've never seen, in all the football that I've watched, all the football that I coached, I've never seen someone have a cardiac arrest on a football field.
Same.
Yeah. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And so it's the thing, I didn't get to watch the game live. We were actually out to dinner. It was my wife's uncle's 60th birthday. And, me being the typical football fiend and DFS player, I'm sitting there and I have, on ESPN, and I'm watching the game, while we're all talking, having dinner. And then I'm also checking my scores, and I had it on DraftKings, and I noticed, they have this little thing on top that tells you who has the ball and what, with the time of the game and whatever, who has the ball, where they are. And I noticed it was just stuck on the same thing. I'm like, man, this is a long time out, And then eventually I look down and I see the ambulance, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And then now I start listening to it, and I watch, and I see what happens, and I'm starting to see all the replays. And I mean, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen. And then just to find out what happened, it really hit home with me, because, I believe we've spoken on it before, but I suffer from a rare heart disorder. It's a rare arrhythmia which requires me to have I literally have a defibrillator in my chest connected to my heart, because at any point my heart can just stop and I could go through what, he's going through. So it really hit home for me to see him go through that. And for one, being grateful that I have that, in me and that we found it, but also grateful that he had professionals and medical professionals there who were able to think quick on their feet and do what they needed to do to essentially bring him back to life and keep him alive to get to the hospital and to be able to be in a position where he's recovering now. So, I'm really thankful for all those people out there and the NFL, the way they handled it. And, I shout out to the coaches, because from my understanding, they probably would have continued with the game, the officials and the NFL, but both coaches, specifically the Bengals coach, is like, no, I can't. I got to go to the hospital. I got to be with my guy.
The Bills coach.
I'm sorry, the Bills coach. He's like, I got to be with my guy.
Yeah.
And Bengals coach was like, yep, so be it. Then that's what we're doing, so.
And that's what I loved about that. The fact that they were both empathetic. Well, one, the Cincinnati coach was empathetic about what just happened, right? He could have been that asshole, be like, nope, we're playing. We have playoff implications in this game, and sorry for that, but we're playing. But he wasn't. He was like, "Hey, I know this is crazy times right now. And I'm sure he said, whatever you feel like you should do for your team, go ahead and do it. And the Bills coach is like, thank you. I don't think my team's ready to play. I mean, shit. Yeah. I mean, you're watching this guy. I was kind of like you. I had it on. It was on the living room TV. I was watching the college game right before that, and I dozed off watching the college game. I can still hear the game. I'm hearing the kickoff. I'm hearing Booger talking about what he expects, who's going to win, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, it just stopped. It was just quiet. And I'm like, one-eyed open. I'm looking at the TV. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Did someone turn off? I thought someone turned the TV off, right? So I'm looking. I'm like, what the? Then I see the players, like, you can see Stephon Diggs. He's like crying. Everybody's around him. So I'm like, okay, what happened? So I rewound I was able to rewind the scene, and then I saw the hit, and I was like, oh, damn. Yeah. And right away I knew it had to be cardiac, because concussions, when you get hit with concussions, the first thing that wobbles is your legs, right? Yeah. He didn't wobble. He just fell straight down. So I'm like, oh, damn. And then after they showed it over and over and over again, and I saw that T. Higgins put his shoulder down, hit him in the chest. Mm-hmm. I was like, there's no way he had a cardiac arrest. There's no way. But when they started saying they're doing CPR, I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah. I don't know what the name of the thing they thought it was, the cause. But I do remember when I was in high school, around that time, there was a high school player, a lacrosse player, who unfortunately lost his life. And it was from this weird kind of anomaly that happens where if you receive any sort of blunt force trauma to your chest or the heart area at a particular time in the heartbeat cycle, it can cause a cardiac arrest. That was the first thing I thought of. Then kind of a few hours into what they were saying, into what was happening when he was at the hospital, they started kind of bringing that up as an idea. And I think that's kind of what they think happened. Yeah. And I mean, that's freaking terrifying. Yeah. Because there's really nothing you can do about that. And that's what brings me back to what we were saying before about the mental part of the game. He didn't have any pre-existing, conditions, injuries. It was just a freak accident, right or wrong time to get hit in the chest. And now these guys have to be thinking like, man, I mean, I get hit in the chest all the time. All the time.
I tell people to hit him in the chest.
You know what I mean? Like, is this something could happen again? And it could. I mean, it could. And, I remember when I signed up for football, my dad having to sign the paper and the waiver saying, like,
we are not responsible for anything that happens.
Right, injury and death. And my dad's like, death? Wait a minute, what are you guys doing? I'm like, no, it's just they have to put that there. They got to cover their butts, Dad. And he's like, but he, as a parent, and I'm sure you had to go through this, really have to think about what it is I'm signing. Like, there is a chance my kid could get hurt, and you hope, that's not going to happen. And you as a coach, part of your job is to train them to play in a way so that they don't hurt themselves or hurt someone else. So it's there, but it's always something that's in the back of your mind. So to actually see it happen and to see it on a professional level right in front of our face with different camera angles, I mean, it's scary, man.
This is the first time that I'm going to go into a season having to worry about this, because I'm more worried about concussions, someone breaking a leg. I saw a couple MCL, ACL tears. Never seen a ruptured Achilles yet, live at least. So those are the things that I look out for. But now having to worry about someone's hitting. And the new age of football, you're taught to hit between the waist and the shoulders. Mm-hmm. And you're taught to hit in the torso part, the front part of the body. You could hit him on the side depending on where they're running, but you definitely can't hit him in the back unless they're running away from you and you dive tackle. Mm-hmm. Now with this moving forward, we're going to have to try to figure out another solution. Yeah. I mean, like you said, 1 in a million. I mean, when I took EKG for medical, my EKG teacher at the time said, when you're looking at the waves of the heart, right? They said when your heart wave goes straight up, that's the most vulnerable part of your heart, right? Mm. So when it goes up, your valves are open, your heart's trying to get blood back in there, so it's vulnerable. So he did mention if you get hit during this vulnerable part, it can cause a cardiac arrest. Yeah. But he said it has to be hit at a certain certain percentage or force of trauma is what he said.
Right.
So when that happened to him, I was like, that kicked in right away. And I'm like, wait a minute. So just so happens his heart was at the most vulnerable stage and they ran into each other right at that same moment. I mean, 1 in a million shot.
Yeah.
That's like getting hit by lightning in San Francisco.
Yeah.
1 in a million.
Yep.
And unfortunately it happened and we all watched it on TV and right away, I'm not kidding you, man. My phone was blowing up from the coaches to parents who was concerned to, people who knew like, hey, have you ever seen this on a football field? I'm like, no, I'm watching this the same time you are.
Yeah.
It's like, now I have a parent who is on the fence about his son playing, but now it's like, for sure, I don't think my son's going to play. Yeah. And, you have to convince these guys, even the football players, hey, it's 1 in a million. Mm-hmm. It can happen. Now we see it can happen. It can happen. We just have to be careful on how we do things, how we play. But for them to go back to the NFL, for them to even be playing right now, to me, I'm glad they stopped the game that night because there's no way I would be able to play. I just saw my guy get CPR. And in my podcast, I mentioned we didn't hear what the paramedics were saying. That's why these guys' faces were like in shock. We didn't hear like, he's coding. We need to do CPR. Right. He's losing pulse. We didn't hear all that, but I'm sure they did.
And they use a defibrillator.
Yeah, they use a defibrillator.
Which has to be traumatizing to see.
So when they heard that on the field, we didn't hear that as fans. Mm-hmm. So for them to hear that, and then for you to say, okay, we're going to go play in 15 minutes. No way.
Yeah.
No way. No way that's going to happen. So I'm glad the NFL decided to say, you know what? It's your choice. What do you want to do? And the Bills head coach says, you know what, we're not going to play.
Did you see Skip Bayless's tweet?
My God.
I'm not going to say what he said was wrong, but it's like the timing was really bad. Like you like, yes, at some point the NFL's a $1 billion business. And yes, at some point they have to figure out, all right, what are we going to do now with the rest of the season? What are we going to do with this game? But you don't ask those questions when the guy's still fighting for his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just so distasteful. And
go to his Twitter account, because the tweet before that, he said, I don't know what's going on, but I know there's paramedics and there's CPR involved. Prayers go out to the Hamlin and his family. He does that whole what we all did. But then the tweet right after that is when he said the whole, well, there's a $1 billion company. I don't know why they're not starting the game. It's the most unsensitive thing a person's ever said in a time where everybody forgot it was the Buffalo Bills versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Every NFL fan was supporting this guy. Every NFL fan was like, God, I hope this guy makes it. I hope this guy's okay. But for him to do that, I mean, even like the very next day, Shannon Sharp was like, I'm not coming in the studio.
Yeah.
You know, he did the whole F you, Skip Bayless. I'm not coming in there. There's no reason for me to come in there. Yeah, I mean, that's just how people are. I mean, people are insensitive. It's all about, and you know, Skip Bayless is another guy. He's never played in the NFL. He's just an analyst. He knows how to speak. He knows how to get people fired up. And what sucks is he's not going to get fired. You know, he's most likely, this is what people want. This is what, how crazy and sick America is right now.
Yeah.
This is what we want.
As soon as he tweeted that, I'm sure the ratings for that next episode went up because they wanted to see what Shannon was going to say to him, because these guys are known for always going at it and arguing with each other. So they knew that was coming. And I mean, so yeah, it's kind of a sick state of mind of where we are with our country, where people just want to see the drama and the tea. But with that said, I am glad that, you know, Shannon Sharp spoke his mind, you know, because you could see Skip was like, well, I thought we weren't going to talk about it. No one seemed to have a problem. Shannon's like, what? Like, no.
What made you think we're not going to talk about this?
Like, the fuck, you know? So good for him for saying what everyone else was thinking. Like, dude, you were wrong. And the fact that he doubled down on it and didn't even apologize shows the type of character that guy had.
I'm not deleting it. I'm not. He goes, I'm not taking it off. I'm not taking it out. There's no way. It's like, I'm keeping it up there. And it just shows you the kind. I mean, like I said, you know, from a Giants fan to a Niner fan to the Bengals fan who went to the hospital and sat there with candles and flowers, hoping for him to get better and to recover, just shows you that it's bigger than football. And that's what I loved about Troy Aikman when he said, forget about the game. This is bigger than football right now. This is all about, you know, Hamlin getting better and him, you know, making a full recovery. If you were him, would you come back on the field?
If I were Hamlin?
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough one.
24 years old. He's only 2 years in NFL. So,
I think if, honestly, and it sounds crazy, if I was the type of guy that he was, that had the sort of drive and determination to get myself to where I'm at in the NFL, chances are I'd probably still want to play if I felt healthy. But at the same time, you know, he had a near-death experience, so that's not like pulling your hamstring or tearing your ACL or something like that. I don't know. Like now, like, well, I can put myself in that position. You know, I found my condition 2016. I was 36, so I was really lucky that, you know, all these years nothing happened. But if I found out I had this when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have played, to be honest. I don't think it's worth it. But that's easy for me to say. I'm not an NFL player. I didn't work as hard as he did to get there. But I am curious, and I'm curious to see how much of a recovery. Hopefully it's a full recovery. Because even if he doesn't play in the NFL, I hope at the very least he's able to live a healthy and happy life, you know, because it's too young. That's
a hard decision to make, you know, like you said, you know, this guy's worked hard to be where he's at, to be a starter after 2 years being in the NFL. And for unfortunate situation to happen to him where it's going to be up to him when they give him a clear bill of health, like, hey, you're good to go. The doctors might say, I advise you not to play, or it's up to him. It's going to be what he wants to do, and it's going to be a hard decision. And, you know, from what I read, he's not married. Don't know if he has a girlfriend. So he has to make this decision on his own with his mom and figure out what he wants to do. And, you know, the agent is going to say, that guy Rooney, who I think is a scumbag because of his tweet, he's going to say, hey, dude, play. If your body can do it. Because, you know, agents are all about the money. They don't give a fuck about.
So is the NFL, the teams and the owners, you know.
Yeah, so... he posted a tweet where he said his vitals are back to normal. He's stable. They got a breathing tube down his throat.
I saw that.
dude, you got to be a little sensitive when it comes to, you don't say breathing tube down his throat. Like, for someone who doesn't know medical terms, they were like, why did they have a breathing tube down his throat?
Yeah, I saw that too. I didn't know at first that was his manager or whatever,
his agent.
And I think he got some shit for that too, because there was a follow-up tweet where he gives another update, and he's like, this is coming from his
parents,
his friend, and his agent, like trying to kind of prove that, hey, like I'm close and I'm close source, but you gotta have a little more tact, dude, in the way you say things.
And I told people, like, well, first of all, I've been in the ER, you've been in the ER, ER policies. It's only going to be family only. I don't care who you are, it's family only. How the hell was he in there and getting all these information? So it is what it is. But but I'm glad he's healthy. I'm glad he's recovering. I'm glad he's talking. I'm glad he's tweeting. I still think as of today he's still in the ICU because they're still doing some kind of test to make sure he's going to be good enough to be either moved or go home. So we'll just go from there. But back to our topic.
Yeah.
Giants, Niners. Is there a clash that might happen in the NFC?
I hope so, man. I mean, to me, that's the ultimate. If we face each other again for the NFC Championship, and that's honestly what I'm rooting for. So we can, sit here and enjoy. I mean, I think we're pretty lucky to have had our teams meet up kind of in that situation a couple times before. And just for both of us to have our teams in the playoff right now and enjoying late season games, I think is awesome. So it's gonna be a fun ride, regardless on who you play and who we play. I will be rooting for you guys, especially today. Looking at the scores right now, it looks like Minnesota is going to end up beating Chicago. I mean, unless Chicago can, it's 16-6 in the second half, in the first half. Sorry, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If Philly can lose to the Giants today, that will be good for us. Who? Let's just put. What's the question I'm asking? If we did face each other in the playoffs, regardless whether it's the NFC Championship or the second round, and you lost, how would you feel? I mean, I would be pretty pissed off that the fact that we lost. See, it's kind of hard, because if we lost, of course I would be happy that for a lot of my friends, you included, who are Niner fans, and it's like, well, fuck it. I mean, at least they get to see their team win. But then I have friends who I don't want to see them be happy that the Niners win. So I'm kind of torn.
Yeah.
But when all's said and done, and when my feelings kind of subside, if the Giants were to lose, I'd want the Niners to win. I mean, I live here. Even though that is our biggest rival in the West, but it still is the better team wins, in my opinion, usually. And so I'd be rooting for them. Upsettingly, I'd still be rooting for them.
I would. You know what? If you guys beat us in the playoffs, I'd be happy for the Giants. I'd be upset, just like you. I'd be upset. Be like, fuck, Kyle Shanahan called the wrong play callings again. But I'd be happy for you guys, because you guys are the team where, like you said, in the beginning of the season, you'd be happy with whatever the outcome would be. Now that you're in the playoffs, you're even happier that you're in the playoffs. Now, if you can beat a top-notch team like the Niners, that's a win no matter what. If you guys make it to the Super Bowl, or don't make it to the Super Bowl, but you beat the Niners on the way there, that's going to be hey, remember what happened last year? We stopped you from going to the Super Bowl. So it's going to happen, right?
And then, I mean, and that's the thing with us, we haven't, if you look at all the wins, we really haven't beaten a top-notch team yet, so it's like, at some point you can only avoid it but so long. So we're going to have to do that at one point if we're going to make it. So why not in the playoffs?
I'm trying to play this out. So if the season ended today, Dallas would be playing Tampa. Would be Dallas. Dallas is number one in the wild card. So it'd be the Niners,
Yes.
It'd be the Niners and Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Giants, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Dallas. That's if it ended today. Now the second round, who would let's say you guys beat Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you be facing? You'd be facing Philly, right? It'll be because Philly has that bye.
Yeah.
Would it be Philly or would it be Tampa Bay, Dallas facing Philly? I think it'd be Tampa Bay, Dallas facing Philly. You would, or the Giants would end up facing the winner between the Niners and Seattle. I think that's how it works.
As much as I hate those matchups, I think I would like to see an NFC East team at least in the second round.
I have it right here, so let me see. So it would be Tampa Bay, Dallas. So the winner between Tampa Bay, Dallas would end up playing Philadelphia.
Okay.
But it doesn't show me. So I guess the winner between the Giants, Minnesota, Niners, Seattle would play each other. So
yeah.
Hey, we're on a collision course.
Yeah.
We're on a collision course. There's a probability that you and I would be playing each other.
Yeah.
So
that should be freaking awesome.
I would love that. We should call our bets right now, Joe.
Yeah. I gotta go on my team. So.
We should do the hat bet again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with it.
The hat bet. Guys, if you guys don't know, there was a year, and it was the year that even our good friend Nick Diaz is very upset about. He always brings this up every time we talk about Niners Giants. I can't believe you made that bet with him. I can't believe you stuck to the bet. Well, we made a bet. The bet was our original Ordinary Joe's profile picture showed us wearing the opposite hats for each other or each other's teams, and the winner or the loser had to wear the opposing hat and grow their mustache.
Yeah.
And I lost that year. I was a good sport. Joe had the Giants hat in hand when we were walking to work. I put it on. I flipped off the camera. And then a couple years later, we did the same exact bet. I was no longer in the hotel, but Joe was still a good sport. He had someone wearing with a Niner hat. He put it on, and that's how it is. So let's do it again.
Yep.
Let's do that same bet again.
Update our picture.
We have to do it all over again. I can't grow a mustache for movie reasons. I'll explain that to Joe after we get off the air. I can't even shave my head. So there you go.
Yeah, and I can't just for work reasons. Now I can't walk around looking like a 70s porn star.
just shave the beard. Shave the beard, then you look like that 70s porn star. You don't know how many Ron Jeremy jokes I've been getting lately. Hey, dude, you look like Ron Jeremy right now with that mustache. No, but that's good. I'm glad. So I'm glad we're, the one good thing about Joe, he's very faithful to his team, and he knows how faithful I am to my Niners. Do I have confidence in the Niners? It all depends which Niner team shows up.
Yeah.
Back in the era where if Joe Montana lost, you were shocked. What? Joe Montana? Even when Steve Young was quarterback, you were shocked that they lost. Steve
Young was a man.
But now, with the team that we have, if they lose, they lose. They lose. We lost to Chicago, first game of the season. We were supposed to beat them. We lost to Atlanta. We were supposed to beat them.
And that Raiders game was way closer than it should have been.
It was the Raiders we played last. Again, Stidham exploited our secondary. He showed the whole NFL that our secondary sucks. DeMarco Ryans, defensive coordinator, you need to do a better job with the secondary, because if not, we are going to get killed in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So get this fixed now.
Yeah. And I'm glad both our teams were playing in the afternoon, because if I would have been sitting here watching the Giants get their ass whooped while we were talking, I would have had a totally different demeanor.
we should do that one day. We should just live stream a game. We don't have to show it, but we can have it playing in the background, and we should just see. It doesn't have to be our team. It could be a team. Maybe one of the playoffs moving forward. And then we can just sit here and just criticize what plays they just did.
Yeah, exactly. But for sure, I think if the Giants and the Niners do play each other in the playoffs, that might be a good time to do that. Because I have already committed myself. If the Giants do play a Saturday playoff game, I may be sick that day. So,
what? That could be. I mean, that could be something we can do. I have my thing set up here to where we can just watch and do a podcast.
Same. I'm looking at the games as we speak.
We don't have to have the sound up for NFL policy reasons. You know, we get in trouble. I get in trouble when I play this. So.
Oh, really?
So like YouTube's like, you have a copyrighted. You know. Oh, here's ESPN for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, YouTube and their 30-second policies, like, you know, whatever. But yeah, man, you want to log that in right now?
Yeah. Yep.
Niners.
Let's do it.
Niners Giants playoffs. We're going to stream it. Not stream it. Are we going to go live or are we going to go?
Well, we can go. I say we go live.
We can go live.
And we stream live while we're watching the game. I mean, we could also pre-record it, but either way, I think
live would be more because I can connect this to my Facebook, tag you on it, and then we can read the comments as people go.
Yeah, and that'll be a fun experience because then at least I'll have some Giants fans in the room too.
Yeah,
so
there you go. All right, that sounds exciting. Only if it's the Giants Niners.
Only if it's the Giants Niners, and only if I don't get tickets for the game.
Well, you better take me with you if you go to the
that could be a possibility too. I'm just throwing that out
like,
there.
Joe, you need a ride to the game? I'll be more than happy. I'll pay for gas, parking, and your food. Just take me to the Niner game with you, man.
If that's the case, maybe we just we can't tailgate, huh? Can you tailgate at us in Santa Clara?
You could. You have to park at that parking lot though. The main lot. I don't know about those other lots, but But that I would pay the extra $50 to park at that lot because I hate walking that 5 minutes, to go walk over there. Right. But that'd be cool, man. That'd be cool. Let's definitely lock that in. Let's definitely do that. So there's a lot of implications if he doesn't get tickets.
Yes.
If it's the Niners Giants.
If it's the Niners Giants and we don't get tickets, we will be going live.
We'll go live
during the game.
And then 5 minutes into live, and be like, you know what, man, I can't do it.
This is too stressful. I normally don't watch the game in its entirety.
I'll give you warning right now. There's going to be a lot of swearing. There's going to be a lot of F-bombs. There's going to be a lot of, F Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley.
You may see my laptop get flipped upside down.
Joe might have the laptop turned off by the second half, depending on the outcome of the game. So I might have it turned off by the second half.
I may not be. I'll just be giving Eric a silent treatment for the last 30 minutes of the live stream.
I'll be like,
because I'm pissed off.
Joe, are you? I don't know if Joe's computer froze, but he's just staring at us.
Well, that's another touchdown.
Just put a cardboard cutout of Joe's face, like that mad look. All right, guys, this has been fun. We have our predictions. We both want our teams to make it, regardless of whether our team makes it or not. The good thing about Joe is he supports the Niners. I, for some strange, odd reason, found a way to support the Giants. I text Joe every Giants game. They need to win this game. Then, just like Joe, I don't get a text back. But I'm so used to that, I'm so used to that. Joe's one of those guys where you can't text him if you're in jail.
Don't.
He might respond back 3 days later and you're like, dude, I'm already out, man. Where have you been?
I'm like, hey, man, if you're still in jail, I can come get you.
Dude, that was 4 days ago. I got bailed out.
Okay. So you're out. All right.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, man, this has been fun. Can't wait. Yep. You guys heard it here. We're going to go live if the Niners and Giants are in the playoffs against each other. They're in the playoffs, but against each other. We got to make that clear. And Joe doesn't magically get tickets to the Niner game. And we might as well add, and Joe doesn't get invited to somebody's house.
No.
Because I always watch it at home. I'm superstitious. People call me stupid-stitious because I don't go anywhere during games.
I would have to watch it at home because I don't know that I could take sitting at like a Niner fan's house and with other Niner fans, most likely. Bad enough I'm in a Niner fan's house. But thankfully, not everyone really is into football, but they're into it enough that they can talk enough crap to get to me. So
that day that the Niners and Giants play against each other, I'm going to sneak by your house that morning and put a Niner flag right on your door.
I got the family dog a Giants jersey and Saquon Barkley. His name is Barkley. How can I not?
Did you name your dog?
His name is Bandito. Yes,
Bandito, but you call him Barkley.
But I'm gonna for game day, he's gonna be Barkley, and I had to because there's no, like I said, I'm the real football fan of the house, even though everyone is technically a Niner fan, but I felt the need to, he's got to represent at least both teams. So I got him a Niner hoodie and I got him a Giants Saquon Barkley.
So come Super Bowl, he's going to be wearing that Niner hoodie then.
Most likely. But on game day, Giants and Niners,
that's fine.
He's wearing the Giants jersey.
You can wear the Giants jersey throughout game day because, I'll give you guys that.
Yeah.
So.
Or maybe we'll do a costume change at halftime so he represents both.
You're going to be that guy where he's wearing the Giants jersey and then as soon as the Niners are winning, you take it off and you're wearing the Garoppolo jersey. You're like, I'm done. I'm here.
Or maybe I'll have him pick at the beginning of the game and see if his pick is right.
Because you're going to put little treats in front of the Giants jersey. I know the tricks, Joe. He's going to, sorry guys, he picked the Giants jersey. Sorry. And he's like, don't eat those jerseys. Eat that later.
You resist that cute face. He must be right.
All right, guys, this has been fun. Again, you can catch us on all podcast platforms. We're available on all podcast platforms. Catch us on YouTube. Don't forget to tell your friends. If you guys enjoy this, reach out to us, The Ordinary Joes, at theordinaryjoespodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you guys have predictions, let us know that as well. You can leave it on our Instagram page, which does not have been active. Sorry about that, but it will be after today. Let us know and let us know what you think. If you guys like the idea and you like the whole live streaming that we're going to do come the playoffs, give us your input. Hell, if you guys want to join us, my Zoom can hold 100 people. So
nice. Yeah, hop in, more the merrier.
We can do that as well. But until next time, thank you guys for watching. We are The Ordinary Joes.
Peace.
See ya.
The Ordinary Joes Podcast.